Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Wilson here with my good friend and co-host Adrian, right? And this is
The Supernatural and Beyond.
Well, we're going to be going into the far-flung reaches of the galaxy. We're going to be studying the constellations that circle above us. There's a lot of information that we're going to have to kind of compact, and so we're going to give you just the broad brush stroke of what's going to be going on. Before we get started, I want to give you a couple of ideas of where we're coming from so far as research material. This book, one of my favorites, The Gospel in the Stars, fascinating read. We have The Wisdom of the Stars, another fascinating read. Another one, God's Voice in the Stars. And the last but not least, and my favorite, The Mystery of the Mazzaroth. Okay, now, everybody's probably wondering at this point, what in the heck is the Mazzaroth? Well, it's more commonly known as the Zodiac. And what you'll find is through ancient history, through the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, and even before the time of the pyramids, there were the constellations that were rotating around the northern star. Each of these has their own specific names, and we'll be going through all of those things. However, what we want to do on this episode is to give you the Hebraic perspective.
Yeah.
And from what I have discovered, that it makes a little more sense when you look at the signs themselves and then the explanations that the Hebraic perspective had on them.
Right. That's what I agree with too. And I just want to say it's great to be back. It's great to start up a new season and work with you again, Tony. And, can't beat this time, right? So one thing we want to make clear is that this is not a study of astrology or horoscopes, and we actually don't recommend that or never would. We're pointing to the actual time before that, where all this information came before that, back from the Hebrew people. So this is a study of what we believe God has laid out, that God created, and he ordained in the sky and just put there for us. So we go with the Mazzaroth, and which is more commonly called the Zodiac in this time period. But we believe that God has laid out his storyline, his history, or his plan of redemption up in the stars. So it's definitely worth looking up at the stars at night, but always using the focal point of the Holy Scriptures.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like to do. I like to do the research and look at the different cultures and the different civilizations and how they interpret it. One of the things is, from the Hebrew perspective, they were saying that the Hebrews were taken into Babylon, and then they just adopted the Babylonian culture with the Zodiac. What I believe happened is that because each of these civilizations were separate unto themselves, what wound up happening is when the Hebrews were taken into captivity, when they got there, they were like, hey, wait a minute, this is very familiar. And like we said earlier, or if I didn't say earlier, I'll say it now, that what happened is that once we start to look at the signs themselves, you'll start to see how it correlates more to a Hebraic perspective. This is why we encourage you, yes, you,
The viewers. Our viewers.
to actually get out there and do the research yourself, because I knew about the Zodiac thing growing up, but I didn't really take it seriously. It's not a way to predict the future or to determine your particular persona and live your life. What it is, it's a history of humankind and how the prophetic scheme of the Creator, God, Yahweh, Elohim, has laid it out so that you could know that he is the one that ordained the beginning from the end. He has enabled us to know what is coming, so that when we see all this craziness that's going on around us in the world, we can kind of see, okay, what am I going to trust in? There's one time Yeshua said there will be wars and rumors of wars.
Right.
Well, right around now and throughout all of history, there has always been that time thing of wars and rumors of wars.
Right.
So this is a way for us to be able to say, let me go ahead and check out this perspective as opposed to that perspective, and which way seems to make more sense based on what's actually going on right here and right now.
And we actually are in a time of wars and rumors of wars because of the fake news. And you're wondering what's true. And then they release a video of some invasion somewhere, and it turns out to be a training exercise at a military base in Kentucky. But one thing that's very interesting about what we're talking about with the Mazzaroth is, you brought it up too, God ordained the stars.
To tell the story.
Yeah, to tell the story. So it's like, ordained means like God assigned something to tell the stories. So the stars were ordained. He calls them out by name.
By name, yeah.
So he placed them there in the firmament, in outer space, whatever you want to call it, but they're placed there for times, for seasons, for events. And then just researching the name Mazzaroth, it's not Hebrew for the zodiac. The zodiac was a thing that came later.
Yeah, through
it's a Greek
Babylonian
term.
and Greek, yeah, exactly.
But the Mazzaroth, the meaning of it means the way.
The way.
Yeah. And it's the Hebrew word for way, like that refers to, Jesus is the way.
The way, the truth, and the light.
And the light, right? And also referred to in Acts that they followed the way. They followed the way of the Messiah. And it's the same terminology, the same meaning of the way in Hebrew. That's very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And it seems like there's a divine game plan.
Right.
From the beginning, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then at the end, a new heavens and a new earth.
Yeah.
So once again, this is a giant cosmic countdown clock. And we are well into the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Based on the things that we're seeing in the news, based on the things of prophecy, it's all lining up. Yes, I know everybody says, well, it's been lining up for like the last, 6,000 million years. And say, yeah, well, when you're eternal, there is no time. But it's interesting that in the beginning, he put the sun, the moon, and the stars for times, signs, and seasons. So if we can understand, I'm not saying go into a theological study on it, but just, Google some things, get some of these books, just kind of read through and see what makes sense to you and what you want to follow and who you want to be following, because there's a lot of false prophets out there, a lot of false teachers, and as you alluded to earlier, a lot of fake news out there. So we really want to make sure that we're doing what we know how to do to discern the times, signs, and seasons so that we can conduct ourselves accordingly, and those that are around us, those that we love and care about.
I found that a lot of the research that I did online, I came up with some stuff that was not
whack.
Yeah, that was not exactly what I was looking for. Like, it had the spin-off, it had the astrology stuff, and it's like, I'm not going to waste my time on this.
Don't waste your time on it.
But I did find an interesting teaching by Chuck Missler.
The guy is a genius.
Yeah, so like he was kind of my main point of my research. I found another guy that had taught on it too, and he had a lot of valuable information. So I'll link both videos down below so our viewers can also check those out. But a lot of good information, and it all ties into the ancient text, the Hebrew text, what we call our Bible now. It's in the Torah. It starts in Genesis. It's there's a lot in Psalms. There's a lot in Isaiah, Genesis, Revelation, even in Matthew. There's a lot in Matthew too about the stars, the Star of Bethlehem, as it was called, that appeared for the Messiah when he was born.
Yeah, if you look that up, it's very, very interesting. Just a quick little heads up. We have at the beginning of the Mazzaroth, we have Virgo, and then at the end we have Leo. And the connections between the two, along with the other 10, it's fascinating reading. Incredible. Reading. Even if you don't believe in all of the stuff that you've heard, if you just look at the facts, there's a lot of compelling evidence why you could or should.
Yeah. And like Tony said, look at the facts, do your own research. Some Christians believe, oh no, we shouldn't look up at the stars and all this stuff. God created them. God put them there. Stay away from astrology. Stay away from horoscopes. This is not about like, what's your sign type stuff. This is not predicting the future, but we're pointing to the Creator who laid it all down. So we want to thank you guys for watching us on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We'll set up eventually other social media platforms, but go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, like, and subscribe for more content.